Hi YouTube, it's Shaneli here. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who is watching this video. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 10 money moves or money things that I did in the past few years to really help me position myself to be in a better financial situation. I think it's really important to do this type of video, especially on a day like Thanksgiving when everybody is kind of being reflective and giving thanks for different things and different people in their lives. But for me specifically, I'm constantly focusing on my future goals and my projects that I'm working on right now. And so it's really important for me to stop and slow down and think about and reflect on like what are the things that allowed me to get where I am today? What are the things that I did that really positioned me to be able to be in a better financial situation than I was in before? So that's why I put together this video. And before I jump into those 10 things, I just want to say thank you to every single person who's clicked my videos, subscribed to my channel, liked my videos, shared my videos, commented on the videos, or anything related to coming here to support my channel, because recently it hit over 1 million total views on my channel, which is huge for me because I started this channel as just a small little hobby, and I never thought that so many people would come to my channel and support it and really enjoy the content and learn from what I'm putting out there. So thank you so much. I really am excited to continue posting videos every week. So definitely come back. And if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that red subscribe button and you can join me here every week for new videos. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that I definitely think made a big impact on my money was my mindset around minimalism. So minimalism is very much a basic concept and idea that everything that you do should be pretty much focused around only what is needed, right? As little as possible, which is literally only the bare necessities. And so for me, when I was growing up, that was the opposite of my lifestyle. Like growing up, it was like you have as many things as you can in your house. My mom personally too, like she was always kind of hoarding things. She likes to sew, so she would, anytime people had like extra fabric or extra curtains or any kind of crafty things, she would take them and put them in the room in the closet or something and say, oh, I'm gonna do something with that, or when I have some free time, I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna work on something with that. I really like that fabric. And so kind of growing up, I always had this idea that if something is in good condition, you shouldn't throw it out. You should put it away and save it for when you might need it or when you want to use it or when you have free time or whatever the case may be. But that was really actually detrimental to me because when I got to college, I was continuing to hoard things. You know, I had a bunch of just junk in my room, curtains, rugs, tables, chairs, speakers, all kinds of things that I just collected over the years. And I never said, you know what, so much of this stuff is just junk and I don't actually use it. Let me just throw it out and make room in my room, my space, for me to kind of think clearly, for me to have space for things that I actually really want to have here and things that I really love, not just a bunch of random things that I've collected because, you know, I happen to have them. So I think now that I'm a lot more minimalist, I've been reading about minimalism. I watched some TED Talks, some YouTube videos, and I've definitely incorporated it into my financial life. So I only spend money when I really, really need to or when I've included it in my plan. And yeah, and then it's also bled into other parts of my life, like what I wear and how much physical stuff I have in my kitchen, in my bathroom, in my living room, just only the things that I need and that I actually really use all the time. Everything else, gone. The second thing is this idea that time is money. Now, I think a lot of people say that and throw that phrase around. Yeah, time is money, time is money. But at the end of the day, it's like if you actually believe that and kind of live by that, you would be a lot more careful with your time because you know, the idea is you don't just go around throwing away money because, especially if you don't have it, because you want to be careful with it, you're going to run out of it. And time is the same way. You know, we don't have unlimited time in this life. We have very limited amount of time here. And, you know, people sometimes think like because time feels like it's not concrete, it's not like a thing that you can actually hold and count in your hands like money. So it's easier to just be a little bit more messy with your time, like, oh, I'll get to it later, or to procrastinate when it comes to certain things that you have to get done. So I try really, really hard, and this is something I'm still working on, but I try really hard to treat my time like I treat my money. So I budget out my time. You know, how much time am I going to spend cleaning? How much time am I going to spend cooking? How much time am I going to spend with my loved ones? How much time am I going to spend exercising? How much time am I going to spend reading? How much time am I going to spend fooling around, scrolling through Instagram, hanging out with my friends? You know, how much would I put towards those things if it was money? And I should be thinking the same way with my time. I really want to put more time towards things that are going to bring me more money, or towards things that are going to make me happier and more joyful and more peaceful as a person, make me better. So the things that I'm spending my time on now are very different from the way that I used to spend my time even like 5 years ago, or, a few years ago. So I think this is a very big one that sort of was like a snap into reality, that like we're not going to be here forever, and so I have to be really strategic about the way that I spend my time. So that one is definitely really important. Number 3 is smash debt, don't manage it. I think before, and I've said this on my channel and a lot of my other videos, I was sending the minimum payment on all my credit cards, and I thought that was fine because that's what you're supposed to do. I was following the rules, right? I'm just sending what they tell me is due when it's due, and not anything more. So for me, I realized that after a few years, my credit cards were just going up and the balance was growing. And I'm like, every time I pay it down, how come it's more next month? I didn't understand how interest rates worked and how interest compounds and how that works. So once I learned about that, I was like, oh, well, duh, if I'm only sending the minimum payment, it's never going to pay it down. And so I had to get serious about how much I was sending to my credit card companies every single month to pay down my bill. So I sat down and I literally put a plan together saying, if I want to pay off all of this in 6 months, then I need to send this much money every month, 400, 500, 600, whatever. And then I just cut out everything that I didn't need so that I could pay as much as I could towards my credit card bill. And I think this one is a really big deal because nowadays, especially as a millennial, a lot of my friends and millennials around me at work and stuff talk about debt like if it's regular, everyday, normal thing. So we've really, as a society, started to normalize debt because it's true. A lot of people do carry debt, and that's just a fact. But that doesn't mean that's how it has to be. So for me, the idea that I could take over my debt and I could actually put a plan together and do everything that I can to aggressively pay it down, and the idea that I had the date that I knew when I was going to be debt free. I knew the day that all my last credit card bill was going to be paid and I would have zero debt that day. So I think this is something that a lot of people are kind of talking more about, but only kind of like in the personal finance world, like on blogs and TED Talks and little, videos and articles here and there. But it's definitely not mainstream. It's definitely not everywhere. So I think more people can who can learn about this idea, then the better, because it will inspire kind of average everyday people to know that they don't have to accept debt and just be living in debt and just manage minimum payments. If they can really buckle down and cut out things that they don't need in their life that they're spending money on, then they actually would have extra money to pay off debt and be in a position where they take control of their finances instead of letting the money take control of them. So I definitely think smash debt is a really, really, really big, important one. Number 4 is that I opened a checking and savings account when I was 16 years old. So I remember it was after I had like a super big Dominican Sweet 16, and a lot of people gave me gifts and, just like monetary gifts, like either a gift card with money on it, or cash. And so all of that money that I had after my party, I went to the bank with, I think it was my dad took me or my mom, and we just went in and I said, I want to open a bank account because I don't want to just keep this cash like in an envelope. It just, feels dangerous. So we went to the bank, we opened it like a regular student account. I think, because I was in high school at the time. So then I had a checking account and it was linked to a savings account. And so the goal was that I would get a job and then I would continue to add more money there so that when I went away to college, I could have some money there, because I knew, my family was not in the position to be giving me money every time I needed it. So that's when I started. And I think this is so important to create a bank account early so that your mindset is around, you're always constantly thinking about having a place, a little house where you keep your money. And so then you're kind of motivated to make more money so you can grow the bank account, and then also to let it sit there for a long time so you can save it. So you're not spending it constantly, because then you'll see your bank account kind of going down. And that, watching the number decrease, it kind of scares you, like, oh no, I'm not going to have any money left if I keep spending. So I think it's really a good idea to start with a bank account as early as possible. If you're, if you're a teenager, I would definitely encourage you to talk to your family about opening a bank account, and just to kind of get in the habit of putting money in the bank. And that way, you're building those savings habits early on. Number 5 is tracking and budgeting. But I don't mean just like having the Mint app and just putting stuff in there. I mean, seriously tracking and budgeting, because when I first started, like, kind of thinking about money and learning about general savings and investing things, I had the Mint app and I was using it all the time, but I wasn't actually using it accurately. It wasn't always reflecting what was actually going on. I only had it linked to like 1 or 2 different credit cards, even though I had 5, and it wasn't linked to all of the different accounts that I had. So it wasn't showing how much I owed in total, and everything that I spent on certain cards wasn't coming up on the account. So it was kind of like, it was just inaccurate. And I think a lot of people use it that way. Like they'll have Mint and they'll like, oh, it's helpful. Yeah, I can set a little budget. But then how many of those people actually use the budget correctly, actually stick to it, update it, look at it to see how much money you have left in a certain category every month? I think that, because there's apps that make this so easy, people kind of take advantage of that and end up not taking it seriously enough. But I got pretty serious with it, and I put together a Google Doc, not a Google Doc, a Google spreadsheet. And I put out exactly how much money I owed, how much money I had, what paychecks were coming in, how much they were. And I decided to, put certain money for every category: food, my bills, my rent, expenses for travel, like all of those things. I put it in there. And then anything that was left over, I transferred it to, my savings account so that I could have my emergency fund, or to pay off any debt that I had. So when I was working on paying off those credit card bills that I had. So basically, I think getting serious about it and tracking, if you don't have a budget yet and you don't know where to start, then you have to start by tracking. So say, okay, let me just look at last month. Let me pull out all my credit card statements. Let me look at my checkings account statement, and see how much money went out and for what, and how much money was coming in and from where. So that way, at least you have an idea of what you're working with. Once you have a good idea of that, you're going to be like, whoa, I can't believe I spent $700 last month on food. Like, that's crazy. It's going to give you very specific information that you won't have unless you get serious about tracking, adding up the numbers, looking at trends. How much are you spending in certain categories? Did you realize that you were spending that much? Did you want to spend that much? And if not, then put a plan in place and actually stick to it for the next month, or try your best to stick to it for the next month. It's really hard at first, but then when you get used to it, it gets easier, and you start to see that you're reaching your goals. So you get more motivated about it over time. Number 6 is that I opened a credit card when I was 18 years old. That for me, I think it's kind of like this one is a little bit risky, because at the time I wasn't using it correctly. I was just buying everything that I needed, that I thought I needed, pretty much things that I wanted and things that I needed, and I was swiping it on the credit card. But I wasn't, thinking about what that meant, that my bills were going to be piling up. I didn't think about that. I would just send the minimum payment whenever I could, because I was working at the pizzeria on my college campus. So I did get a paycheck, every few weeks, but it wasn't something that made sense. I was spending way too much, and it was not on important things that were necessary. So for me, even though it was risky that I did that, I think I'm lucky that I didn't get too out of control with it. So by the time I graduated college, I did have a lot of debt that I owed for credit cards. But at the same time, I had a lot of years showing that I was using my credit card for so many years. So that was back in 2007 that I opened my first credit card, and now it's 2017. So that's 10 years of credit card usage, kind of like showing the credit bureaus, and for my credit score shows that I've been using credit for a decade. And I still feel like, okay, I'm still so young. So the fact that I have 10 years of experience using credit shows that, okay, at this point, my age of credit is gonna be really long, and that's a really good thing for your credit score. Because if you start with opening your first credit card when you're 30, or when you're 35, or when you're 28 or something like that, you have to wait till 10 years after that to have a lot of years of experience using credit. So it just means that the later you start, the longer you have to wait, which is kind of sucks when you're older and you want to have good credit so that you can do things like get a car or get a house or whatever things you want to do, but you can't because your score is really low. An easy way to have a high score is to just have been using credit for a really long time. That leads me to number 7, which is my credit score. I'm so thankful and so grateful that I understood and really decided to care about my credit score. I knew that it was a number that everybody was asking me for. My landlord asked me for it. They asked me for it when I opened a new cell phone plan, and when I moved into a new apartment and I had to open up the accounts to pay the bills, like the gas and the electric bill and all that stuff. They asked me for my credit score, for my social security number and all that stuff. So I started realizing little by little that the credit score, this number keeps coming up over and over again. It must be important. That's when I started researching about it. So I'm really glad that I did that, because that's what led me to decide to start doing things purposefully that would improve my score. So I had to start bringing down my credit card balances and bringing it down so my utilization wasn't so high. I had to start thinking about how many credit cards I was going to have, or how many accounts I was going to have open at once, and start planning. Only open a credit card when you really need one, because I was learning that it was really affecting me to have to be applying for credit too many times in a year. So I'm just really, really thankful that at that point, I really snapped into reality and said, oh, wow, I have to slow down and start paying attention to this credit score, because this number, you know, it really matters. And that was 2 years ago. Now my credit score is 808. I recently posted on my Instagram about how I finally went over 800. And not that I, you know, really care to brag about that, but the point is that in just 2 years, I took my score from a high 500, low 600 to over 800. So it means that, you know, if you put a plan together and you stick to it, you can definitely do this. It just means that you have to get serious about certain changes in what you're doing every day with your money so that you can put yourself in a better position. And then the credit score has helped me so much. In the past few years, I've, you know, been able to take out personal loans with very, very, very low interest rates, and, you know, paid those off really quickly. But it helped me when I was moving to a new apartment and I really needed to get things for the apartment. I didn't have cash on hand and I didn't want to put it on my credit card. And the fact that I had a really high credit score allowed me to get a personal loan for super low interest. So just things like that. When you have a good credit score, it buys you time. It gets you money for very low interest rates. It gets you more opportunities and more rewards and more perks than when you don't have a good credit score, because then everybody's denying you and you don't have a lot of opportunities that you're eligible for. So it puts you in a very tough position where you are kind of desperate for money. And, you know, nobody really wants to be in that position. If you could have it a different way, then, you know, you should. So that's why I think just waking up and smelling the coffee and saying my credit score really matters, let me figure out how to make it better. I'm just so glad that I was able to hit that point, even if it was a little bit late in the game. For me, it was like when I was 24, 25 years old, but it still made a really big difference for me almost right away. Number 8 is my retirement investing. This is something that I posted a video about, and I always refer back to this video to everybody, because I think that when you mention retirement, people always think, oh, I'll worry about that when I'm retiring. I'm going to worry about that when I have to, right? Right now, I'm young. I'm trying to live my best life. I don't want to think about things that don't matter right now. But at the end of the day, it really does matter right now, because the earlier you start, the more your money will grow and compound and benefit from interest over time. So the earlier you start, the better. And I think this is something that we don't learn in school. People don't tell us to start investing when we're young. People don't generally talk about investing in schools. So I think that it's really important for us to learn about it ourselves. And so that's why I'm just really thankful and grateful that I started retirement investing when I was pretty young. It was my first job out of college, and other people at my job were talking about investing in retirement, and we're setting up their retirement funds. And so then I said, oh, maybe I should do that too. Like, let me look into it. And I'm really lucky that it happened that way, because I've been investing pretty aggressively ever since then. And according to my goals, if I keep on investing as much as I'm investing, I will be able to retire with over $2 million. So for somebody like me who grew up in the kind of neighborhood that probably has never, you know, heard or seen of somebody having $2 million at one time, it's a big deal. And it's really important that average everyday people hear this, because if you start really young and you stay consistent, putting the same amount of money every single month, you know, by the time you're ready to retire, you will have a lot of money. It's just that you have to wait all that time. But that's why it's so important to start young, because the time piece is really important. If you keep on thinking, oh, I'll start when I'm later, I'll start later, I'll start when I'm older, I'll start when I have more money, or I'll start when I'm more established, or when I'm closer to retirement. We keep putting all these excuses for reasons why we don't want to start right away, but it's so important that we do start right away. So this is just something I'm really grateful that I did, and I really urge everybody who watches my channel and clicks my videos to start getting serious and seriously thinking about retirement, even no matter if you're not even close to retirement age yet. Number 9 is similar to my retirement investing. I have a job that luckily offers me a health savings account, which is for short HSA. And I think this is, a lot of people don't consider these extra benefits that their jobs give them, especially if you work for, the government, or if you have like a job in education, or I don't know, like an established company. Most of the time, you don't only get a 401k or a 403b or a different type of retirement account. Most of the time they offer you other benefits too. Some offer like medical benefits for you, for your family, for your spouse, or if you have kids, they offer that for your kids as well. And an HSA or health savings account is one of those benefits that's offered sometimes at different jobs. For me, I didn't really consider it the first year that I was working. I was just like, oh no, I'm already putting money towards my retirement. But I have a Roth IRA account which caps at $5,500. So once you put $5,500 in a Roth IRA account, you can put more for that year. But if you have a health savings account at your job, then you can keep putting more. If you're lucky enough to have more money that you want to save for retirement, then you can put that in a health savings account. And the 3 things you need to know about it is, 1, you can't touch it until you retire, so that's annoying. But 2 is there is an exception. Because it's a health savings account, you can use it for your health. You can use it for anything related to your medical bills or medical needs that you have. So in real life, people who know me know that I wear glasses. My glasses are pretty expensive because I can't see from far away. So my glasses, I didn't have to pay that much for, because I used the money from my health savings account to pay for my glasses. And that money in the health savings account gets taken out of my paycheck before I get my paycheck, before I get to see it, and before it's direct deposited. So that was really nice, because it felt like I was getting reimbursed back for something that I was purchasing that I needed anyway. And then the third thing that you need to know is that the money that I paid for my glasses, or the money that you'll spend from my health savings account, is always pre-tax. So you're never going to pay taxes on any of the needs that you have related to your health and your medical needs or expenses. So basically that means any prescription drugs that you take, glasses, braces, all kinds of different things that everyday people need. Instead of paying for that with your credit card or with your money that you get after taxes, so basically the money that you've earned from your job, you can use a health savings account to pay for it, which means that you won't have to pay taxes on that stuff. And taxes add up over time, especially if you live in a state with very high taxes. So it makes sense for people, especially like New York, California, where, taxes are pretty high compared to other states. So, if you work at a job that offers a health savings account, I definitely recommend you look into it and, consider investing some money in your health savings account, even if it's just a little bit every month. Number 10, the last one that I have, this is probably the biggest one, which is why I saved it for last, saved the best for last. But for me, I think the biggest move that I made that made all the difference, I made every other one of the things that I talked about in this video possible, was learning and taking it into my own responsibility. The fact that I had to educate myself when it comes to finances. So, for me, that means I was reading books, I was watching YouTube videos, I was following blogs, I was listening to podcasts, watching TED Talks, just so many different ways that I was pushing myself to learn as much as I could. Because I think if you don't know about this stuff, then that's one thing. But once you kind of know a little bit about it, it's really easy to learn more by seeking out and going on to find those resources, going online, searching even just on Google, and then looking through and learning as much information as possible. Because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I kind of know, but not really. I mean, I think I generally understand that. But then they don't take it into their own hands to go and find out more details about it. And for me, I don't like to be judgmental, but at the end of the day, I do think there's something wrong with spending a lot of time watching Netflix, scrolling through Instagram, posting to Facebook and Twitter, using Snapchat. In fact, if you honestly sit down and add up all the hours, minutes, seconds, all the time that you spend doing those things, and compare it to how much time you spend learning new things about stuff that really matters for your life, like your money, personal finance, investing, your accounts that you have with your retirement at work, what options are available to you, how much time do you spend doing both? And, be real with yourself. If you know that you're spending way more time doing things that are not bringing you, better opportunities or money, or making you better and helping you have more knowledge so you can make better choices, then maybe you might want to sit down and think about that and say, okay, maybe I need to plan to take some time away from some of these activities and dedicate that time towards learning more about these topics that really matter, especially as you start to get older and you start to graduate from college, you start to get your first job, you start to need an apartment, you start to think about, transportation to and from work. Do you need a car? Maybe it's not the best decision right now, even if it sounds really nice. All those kinds of things that are going to happen to every single person at some point in life really matter, and your money and your credit score is directly connected to all of those choices. So it is really important that you learn as much as you can about all of these things. And so I post on my Instagram channel and on my YouTube videos every time I learn about awesome new resources, blogs, websites, channels, podcasts, just anything that I find helpful. So definitely check as much of that out on my channel, but also go and explore other places where there's more information available, because there's so many resources online and there's so much information out there. It's just such a shame that we don't always do our best to utilize it and to use it in the best way. So those are my 10 big money moves that I made that really helped me to be in a better financial situation today. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been following and supporting my channel. If you have any comments or questions, you can put them below in the comments, or you can write to me privately at MissBeHelpful@gmail.com. Till next time, peace.